Elisa Guadan, welcome to the Louder Lawyer podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, man, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So you have a pretty fun background. You graduated high school early, and then you became a sports reporter right out of high school.
Yes,
What?
definitely.
Tell us about that. Tell us about
Tell us
that.
a little bit about that.
That was super interesting. I did television broadcasting at my school. We had like a little television studio and like a TV show that we did. And I did that for, my entire time in high school. I actually petitioned it was only reserved for upperclassmen at the time when I was there. And then I wrote a letter to the television, the teacher who ran the television department. And as a freshman, I wrote this big old long letter and put together, I was like, your logo sucks. Here's new logos.
Whoa,
and by the way, you have no underclassmen representation. So I don't see the point in us, watching this. It's all upperclassmen, and we don't know any upperclassmen. I don't know any of them. So it's not really engaging. And I'm like, and by the way, you should put me on the show.
That is called taking initiative,
yes,
people.
Definitely. And so that actually worked, and he decided to kind of last minute add me to the show. And I did that for my entire career, at least high school career. And then I got picked up from my work with that right out of high school to do sports broadcasting. So.
How long did you do that for?
Not very long, a couple years. I kind of had two directions to go in, either go to college and do kind of the traditional route or continue and my broadcasting, and I chose to leave that and go to college. But it was so much fun.
How many years? How many years of broadcasting did you say it was?
A couple years out of high school, and then I went to school. Went to school.
So what made you want to then become an attorney and go to law school? Like you were broadcasting, you're like a little mini celebrity. I'm sure all the footballers loved you, and then you're like, I want to become an attorney.
Right.
And criminal defense. Did you do criminal defense right out of high school? Right out of college?
I did.
Okay.
Yes. So I went to college, got my undergrad, and then I went to law school. And then all of my opportunities came. I actually had some experience in medicine, and and I was working at a surgery center, and I thought maybe I would want to do medical malpractice law. My first year in law school, I interned at a medical malpractice firm. It definitely wasn't a fit for me. Before I had decided to go to law school, my dad, said, you don't even know a lawyer. You don't even know what lawyering is like. You need to go, see if it's something that you want to do. So he encouraged me to find an internship or, an attorney. And I ended up interning at the alternate public defender's office very young. And this was even before I went to law school. So I was in undergrad. And I actually fell in love with it. I fell in love with criminal law and defending clients, before I even went to law school. Always in the back of my mind, I thought, maybe I'll do this. You're young. I think so many people get trapped in, you have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life at like 21 or 22. But I think you can have a lot of different, phases and different things that you do. And people don't need to pigeonhole themselves so early, right? But anyways, I fell in love with it. I stayed for a really long time. I stayed for a couple years interning, which is just a fancy way of working for free. And then I actually went back a couple years later when I was in law school and interned again because I didn't get enough of working for free. But you
loved the experience.
I loved the experience.
Yeah.
I loved the people. I really do love the individual contact and the representation. I mean, you really get to know these people on a very intimate level.
Yeah.
And I kind of, and then I came out of law school and immediately got a job at a private criminal defense firm in LA. and kind of the rest is history.
Where do you think this fearlessness comes from you? I mean, God, you're like, you're in high school. What, you're like a junior, and you're like petitioning the board to make sure that you have a spot, and then you're graduating early, and then you're getting internships before. Like, man, it seems like you jump into things like, is it like do you see a vision, or are you just like intrigued by something and you just go for it?
I think that, thank you for saying that, by the way, but I really do believe at a very young age, one of the things that's helped me the most is having, and I think what holds a lot of people back is having a little bit of fearlessness. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody says no to me.
Right.
Okay.
You'd be surprised at how afraid people are of that.
So what happens, right? Like, what is the worst that can happen?
Right.
And you have to have a little bit of fearlessness. Yeah. And I think that has been kind of one of my superpowers at a very young age, where I think a lot of, especially women and minority women, have a lot of internal dialogue that stops them from just even getting to a no.
Right.
And even a no is not always a no forever.
It's a step closer to a yes.
It's a no right now.
Right.
So you have to go through a ton of no's to get a yes that's going to work with you. So
yeah, for sure.
What was it? What was it about, like, criminal? Like, you said you fell in love defending the people and getting to know them, and as you know, criminals tend to be like the funniest people.
I've got stories for today.
They got so much personality. So what was, because like you have two sides of the coin, right? You have some people who don't want to go to jail, don't break the law, but they never see the nuance of things that happen, I suppose. And so what was it about defending individuals that like really attracted to you? Like, where did that come from?
I really have I feel I see both sides of a story and a client. When they come to me, that they never want to be there, right? And they're in a position a lot of times that it's insurmountable to them. And I love the process of just meeting an individual person that doesn't know me from anybody, creating that attorney-client relationship and walking them through something that they thought would be the end of their life, or thought that, they would never be able to, would be insurmountable, and getting them to the other side of that, and really seeing them not just for, a criminal complaint, but kind of holistically as an individually.
Yeah,
because everybody brings their own individual history and life story to, why they're sitting in front of me that day.
A common question that we'll hear is, how do you sleep at night?
Defending all these criminals.
Like a baby.
And we love that answer.
Completely unbothered. I promise you that. But and to answer, because that's a common question that as a criminal defense attorney you constantly get. And I always tell people that a lot of times it's not about guilt or innocence. That is obviously a component of what I do. But also there's this whole component beyond guilt and innocence is justice. You can have, if the district attorney or, whatever prosecuting agency is handling the case, if they're doing their job right, every single person I represent should be guilty. The problem is that not all of them are. And beyond that, even if we're looking more at resolving a case or mitigating a case, the spectrum of justice is so inconsistent that my job is to be that buffer, because people get railroaded by the criminal justice system because they don't know, and that people tend to get kind of free passes when they shouldn't, right? And it's very inconsistent. And so I think that is kind of another power that a criminal defense attorney helps with, is being that barrier and, that checks and balances and justice.
Do you have any stories that stick out? What about this? Your first case as a criminal defense attorney, was that a big deal?
It was
I mean,
a
it was a big deal for
me.
you, right? Can you tell us about that day?
Okay, well, I'm going to embarrass myself
Let's
here,
go.
but,
No.
okay.
It's okay.
So I was, when I first came out of law school, I started interning at a criminal defense law firm in Long Beach. And I remember I was there and I said, hey, listen, I'm looking for jobs. I'm still waiting for bar results. Is it okay if I, come work here and, get some experience under my belt? And they're like, sure, we'll take the free labor. And I was like, absolutely. And then while I was still, I had just gotten my bar results and I said, you know what, I'm still looking for jobs. Is it okay if I stay until, I kind of land my next job? They're like, absolutely. And I'm like, now I have my bar license, I can do a little bit more work for you guys. If, get some actual courtroom experience under my belt. They're like, absolutely fine. So the first case I ever took was a civil harassment restraining order. So two neighbors, fighting about neighborly disputes. That kind of turned into a criminal battery case, kind of one of those things, right? So I show up to court and, my bosses at the time, I think they just thought it was kind of fun to mess with me. And so I'm waiting in court and, you got your suit on, you're waiting and you're a little stressed about making the appearance. And all I was asking for was a continuance because we had just gotten retained the day before. And
like, all you have to do is go and ask for a continuance.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a statutory right to a continuance. So like literally there was no way that this case is not getting continued, right? But, I've got my suit on, I'm like terrified, they're calling cases and I'm like, my case number is almost up, right? And then I text my my bosses, I was like, hey, I'm in front of so-and-so. And all they said, and I'm like, I'm waiting for my case to call. And then they just write in capital letters, like run. And
what?
Yes, or run. And then my heart drops. I'm like, what does that mean, right? And then as soon as that happens, my my case gets called. And so I walk up there and I'm like terrified. And I'm like, do I really run? Do I not?
Imagine running out the door.
Were they joking? Were they not
Bailiff,
joking?
stop that woman.
Exactly. But they were just messing with me. You just kind of have to have those, I don't know, trial by fire.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got hazed a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of hazing.
Yeah.
For sure.
A little welcoming to the criminal world.
Exactly. But I really did think about it for a second. I'm like, are they joking? Are
Yeah.
they serious? Or should I run out
What
the
about
door?
when you showed up? Did you call them after? Or did you show up to the office the next day? Everyone's like laughing.
I don't remember how that went down, but I still remember the feeling of my stomach dropping and my case getting called.
Too funny.
So how long? So what inspired you to then open up your own firm?
So I wish I could tell you I had this like magical, amazing story to kind of open up my own law practice, but it was just I have had a long career of working with other attorneys, and COVID hit, and I think COVID kind of gave everybody an opportunity to kind of reevaluate their work life and their careers and kind of what they want to do on a more long-term basis. And so I took, COVID as an opportunity to hang out my own shingle, and the rest is history.
So how long were you at the previous firm, or how long were you practicing before?
I have, let's see here, this year is my 11th or 12th year total. So I had, a good amount of time. I had practiced at a couple different law firms over the course of my career.
It's like 6 years maybe before? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
11.
11. yeah. 5, 6 years.
About 6 years.
Tell me about math.
Yeah. So like, we always like to talk about like that. I mean, you said it wasn't some crazy story, but there had to be like an aha moment, or maybe it was like brewing for a while. You're like, I really need to just do my own thing. And that fearlessness kicked in. And like, what was like the day that you made the decision? What was like your first step? Like, did you make a website? Did you get an office, or did you just like open up your laptop at home and like, I got to find a client? Like, what was it?
I really, was sitting down, looking at my desk and, you know, looking, going, so during COVID, I had become a new mother, and I, you know, was a newly single mom. And so I was going, what am I going to do? I've got this, you know, kid to support, and I need to boost up my income.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so, you know, there's nothing that, you know, a woman won't do when you have no other choice. And I am so grateful to COVID because I believe that I probably would have taken the safer route, you know, and kind of worked for other people, because although I am fearless in a lot of senses, but I'm always going to do what's best for, you know, myself and my family and, you know, the people that depend on me personally. But that was the push that I needed in order to, you know, launch my next steps and do, you know, take a short step back, you know, for a much larger step forward, you know, later.
So tell us about like the beginning of the law firm, like year one, like trying to navigate this new world.
Yeah. It was tough. It was definitely tough, you know, opening it up, especially in the midst of COVID, because the criminal court system had almost, I mean, it didn't ever stop completely, because you're always going to have to deal with in custody felony cases, but it ground to a halt for a while. And we saw things that I never thought I would see, right, where criminal cases are just getting pushed to another day. Wow. Filings were delayed and then delayed, and I know it created a lot of stress for my clients, where, you know, you get arrested, you don't know what's happening or whether they're going to prosecute, you know, for 6 months, 10 months down the road. It, you know, leaves you in a suspended animation.
Right.
So, and then just for that, there wasn't a lot of urgency for clients to hire, because they didn't know, if they were going to file the charges, you know, what was going on.
Like, maybe, can I get away with it?
Yeah, exactly. Are they just going to forget about me? There was a lot of that. You know, they didn't forget. It just got, you know, exponentially delayed, right? And, you know, and then when the courtrooms did open, there was a lot of congestion and, you know, not enough trial courtrooms. And, you know, so a lot of flux that I saw. But I thought they implemented Zoom, which was super nice. That was great. I wish they would have kept that, because it's something that civil lawyers get all the time. And they put together I think they spent, I know in, you know, LA and Orange County, they spent multi-million dollars to build the infrastructure for
virtual
hearings and appearances, and then they just kind of did away with it.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Now those are just
brilliant.
like studio setups now we can go use.
Exactly.
That's cool, because then you get trial cases from all over the state.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing a trial virtually, but for the appearances that, you know, where you're just waiting for discovery, you know, you're waiting for an investigator report to come back, you know, things that just kind of those, what we call pre-trial, or, you know, trial readiness conferences, where you're just kind of working up a case that's not ready for prelim or trial. I think those can definitely benefit from just virtual appearances.
The ones that when you show up, when you're about to leave, you're like, oh, we did not need to come here for this.
Exactly.
Those ones.
Right?
Waste of time.
Yeah.
Waste of time.
For sure.
So what were some things you were able to do to get business? You know, what are some of the things you've done in terms of like marketing, that you're a criminal defense attorney, getting clients to know about you and trust you? Like, walk us through that.
I definitely leaned back on my career as a reporter, and I've been doing Instagram, TikTok videos, a little bit of YouTube. It's still very new, but I've been getting a lot of wonderful feedback from that as well, and just informational videos. And really, they come from inspiration on clients that I'm dealing, you know, or on cases that I'm working on currently, or I'll have a conversation with a client about, you know, oh, hey, I'm thinking about, this is what happened, you know, do I have enough evidence to file a domestic violence restraining order, or, you know, I just got arrested for such and such, you know, what am I looking at? And then I'll kind of flesh that out with them, and then it's all fresh in my head, and then I'll just, you know, do some content with that, and hopefully pass along some, you know, valuable information.
Absolutely.
Do you get a lot of leads that come from social media?
Yes, for sure.
And what form do they come in? Messages, phone calls, all the above?
All of the above. I would say it's probably more phone calls. Well, actually, I take that back. Probably more just direct messages.
Gotcha.
Is probably the most common.
Yeah. And then do they end up calling you, or do you just like kind of calling them? Like, how do you facilitate the consultation?
They'll usually send their phone or email, and then if they do that, then go ahead and contact them, you know, directly with their contact information that they provided.
For sure.
Or sometimes it's more generic, be like, hey, can you help me with such and such? And then, you know, we'll send a message back saying, hey, go ahead and call our office, or, you know, this is my direct you know, number, go ahead and give us a call. You're like first things first. Do not give any information on the DMs. Don't admit or don't do nothing.
Keep your mouth closed.
Keep your mouth closed.
Never. I mean, that's just always good to keep your cell phone and social media presence sanitized. You know, that your grandmother could look at it and, you know, be happy with you.
Sorry, Grandma.
Right? There you go. Yeah, exactly. You never know. You never know when that subpoena is going to hit for your cell phone record.
My mom used to say, don't put out anything you wouldn't want printed on the headline of a newspaper, front page of a newspaper.
Well, all press is good press.
If it's press. So where do you see that, like, your firm going? Like, what stage do you feel like it is in now, and where do you see it going in the next few years?
I definitely feel like we're in growth phase.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm just, you know, looking forward to helping clients, you know, more in the years to come. I mean, I've got, I will probably, when the time is right, you know, add some, you know, attorneys, you know, to my practice. Right now I've got 2 girls that help me with my law firm right now, and they're wonderful. And, you know, beyond that, you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
Help you the way you used to help other people? For free?
No.
You're like, I'll pay them.
They wouldn't like that. I don't think they would help me for very long if that was the case.
Have you seen, like, so we know, like, so we all know that social media is a very powerful tool when it comes to, like, marketing. Have you seen, like, a dark side of social media since being on it?
A dark side of social media. I would just think, you know, anyone that does, any attorney that does Facebook ads or Instagram or Google ads, you're always going to get a lot of comments, I think, and especially because I do video content directly, you know, it kind of lends itself to a lot of, I don't know what the word is.
Creepers? Weirdos? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say creep, but, you know, a lot of that, like, sliding into my DMs, right? And they don't realize that, like, there's a grown man content creator, like, checking all those messages.
Yes.
I'm like, you're just talking to a dude.
Yeah. That's too funny.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm like, I don't know.
Let's see if we can turn this. Let's see if we can turn this slide into a case. You got a case for us?
Exactly.
That's funny. You're funny.
I don't know.
What's your favorite platform right now?
I would have to say Instagram. Instagram right now. I am most excited about growing my TikTok, but Instagram definitely right now is probably my most preferred.
Is that where you
social
see?
media platform?
Is that where you see the most leads come from?
Correct.
Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually,
you get a lot of views on
I take
TikTok.
that back. I probably get more views on TikTok,
but you get more leads on Instagram.
More leads on Instagram, on Facebook. I probably have the most because I probably have, like, I don't know, I think I have, like, over 10,000 followers. So So,
Yeah.
you know, that's probably like just volume-wise, I probably get the most interaction.
Yeah. The goal is really to feed, you get, like, we got like 100,000 views in a day,
Right.
but the goal is to get those views, and like, cause people, TikTok, the way TikTok works is just like so fast. If we could like drive some of that traffic to Instagram, that's sort of like the goal. Like, hey,
Right.
can you like leave TikTok and go to Instagram?
You know, because I do that too. I've found just referral sources and found, you know, content outside of, you know, my area of expertise from, you know, other lawyers that are posting on TikTok and Instagram.
Right.
So, you know, I'm creeping on their pages too.
You should be. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to be.
and they actually give out, and I always love the creators who are giving out, you know, really valuable information, you know, to people.
Definitely.
Because I always believe that, you know, even if you can't, even if you don't want to hire a criminal defense attorney, you want to go with a public defender, you always have the right to represent yourself. Information is so important, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misleading information and just flat wrong information. So I really do try to, you know, be cognizant of what I'm putting out there.
We get two sides. Like, what we notice, we get two sides. Like, and really all of this is two different opinions. Let's say like you'll have one criminal defense attorney who says, never take the breathalyzer, right? And then you have another criminal defense attorney who's like, for all these criminal defense attorneys that tell you don't do the breathalyzer, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I just feel like it's really two strategies, two opinions. It's like one believes that you should, one believes that you shouldn't. You know, I think
What do you believe?
It's all nuanced.
I believe that if you're on the roadside
Yeah.
and you're debating whether to take it or not take it, you're probably too drunk to figure out whether you should take it or not take it. To be quite honest, because it's going to matter exactly as you said. It's going to matter if you're in the absorption phase, if you're in the elimination phase, and you're too shit-faced to understand that at that point. So definitely don't do that. I always say you're going to have your license suspended. So as long as you're okay with doing a refusal and then having them get a search warrant, because they're going to get your blood anyway, and they're going to get your blood alcohol content from that. So as long as you're okay, I don't know if you're going to be okay with not having a license. But if you do want a restricted license, you're going to want to take the breathalyzer. So exactly as you said, it's always two different opinions, and it's very individualized.
Yeah. All you can really do is try to give like some general information, but if you, it's like, this is general information. If you're come across a problem, the best thing to do is contact us so we can customize a plan for you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's situational, obviously, too, depending. But I can't imagine, like, if you're too drunk to remember all these like videos that you watched.
Right. Definitely don't do field sobriety tests. I will say that's probably a very hard and fast rule.
How often do
no
police?
field sobriety tests.
How often do police like actually try to carry those out? Like every time?
Even if you're sober.
Every time.
Every time.
I mean,
because they're bored.
Because I remember getting pulled over one time, a few times, but they've always done this test with me with the finger,
right?
And they go follow my finger.
Yes.
And I always passed. Oh, really?
Right. Well, okay. So I am trained in administering field sobriety tests. So I've taken the same classes that you have to take to pass the field sobriety test testing criteria in the police academy. So I think it was like 5 days or something. And you're supposed to do it very steady and very, you
try to juke me out.
Right. I mean, it's not like super slow, but it's not super fast either.
Yeah.
Right. And I've actually been in the emergency with my son, and there was an officer there who had brought somebody in to, do a blood draw, and he was doing that. It's called the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. And he was doing that, and he was doing it completely wrong. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like, excuse me, sir, that's not how you do it.
Right. So there is a right way and a wrong way to administer these field sobriety tests. A lot of these officers now have body-worn camera videos and the MVARs, which are, the dashboard cam.
Yeah.
But they're, you know, they know where to position you. So it's just outside the dash cam field of vision.
Right.
And they know how to kind of position their bodies, so it's not particularly helpful.
And if you're getting pulled over, can you be like, and you sort of know the rules, you know, because I follow you on Instagram, so of course I know what to do. So if they try to pull a fast one on me, can I be like, no, I want to be in front of the camera. I know your dashboard, blah, blah, blah. I want to be right here. Can I direct them and be like, no, I want to be in front of the camera the whole time?
You theoretically could, but you're going to make them angry.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you're directing your own field sobriety test. And plus, if you were really following me, you would never agree to them anyway.
Clip that.
What's the terminology to use when asked to do a field sobriety test in order to deny it?
I am politely declining. I am politely declining to take any field sobriety tests.
How do they usually say, though? Did you say, all right, get out of the car, I'm doing a field sobriety test?
Well, you have, and I think that this is where people kind of beat themselves up for. And I talked to a colleague of mine, and you know, he's been a criminal defense attorney for a very long time, and he was pulled over and accused of driving under the influence. And he said, as much as I know and as many years as I have under my belt, when I am faced with the lights and sirens and it's dark at night, and he's like, your
nerves,
your tendency to please, you know, a police officer is so strong that it takes a lot to say no. Yeah. You know, because you want to naturally, you know,
and it's scary.
Make a police officer, you know, they got guns, they got the lights and sirens, you know. Most people, you know, are not out to, you know, not be law-abiding citizens, and they want to do, you know, what an officer wants them to do, and, you know, be cooperative in a police investigation. And so it takes a lot to say no, you know. So I think it's a little bit easier said than done in actuality. I understand that, but you do have to stand your ground and say no.
So if I feel violated in it or unjust in any way, how is there a process to where I can be like, I want the footage of this interaction?
Oh, yes. And that brings me to another soapbox of mine, is that you have the right to obviously get the evidence in your case. Those are the body-worn cameras and the MVARs. My big gripe with it, especially in Orange County right now, is that they are charging us as defense attorneys money to even just get the evidence on our clients' cases. So it's, you know, $40, $60, $80, $100, you know, to get these you know, MVAR videos that I feel that we are entitled to in order to review and mount a defense.
Can they legally, like, I'm not saying they can legally charge you, but can they legally not give it to you because you won't pay?
Yeah, they don't give it to us until we pay.
And you can't get a court order to
you know
get it?
There is a lot of flux right now, and I know that there are other attorneys, you know, colleagues of mine in the Orange County area that are kind of litigating this exact issue and, you know, talking to the courts about that. But as it stands today, if we don't pay for our own discovery, we don't get it. And then we're charged the administrative time that it took for somebody to, you know, download it off the computer system, burn it onto a CD, and then they give it to us on like just like a Blu-ray. Like I got one recently, and it was like on a Blu-ray disc. I'm like,
where the fuck am I supposed to put this?
I don't have a Blu-ray
Just send me a Dropbox
Comes in on a
or a
VHS.
Google Drive.
Why don't you just do a flip book of what it
Right?
was?
Literally. You know what's crazy?
Blu-ray.
Right?
Yeah.
Let me pop it in right quick. I got it at home.
Here's a VHS.
You know what's crazy about that to me? Excuse me. Is that what that says is that these police departments are doing everything they can to make sure that they can continue to do things not by the book or to protect themselves as if they're the ones that need to be protected when they're supposed to be protecting us. And I get it. You're carrying out justice. You want to make sure but it's like they should be so open and willing to like make sure that the truth.
I don't think they're carrying out justice. Their only job is to arrest you.
Well, then that proves my point even further, is that they're doing everything they can to make sure that they are protected.
No hate to the homies who are police officers, by the way.
But that's what it is.
And you know what? I have to
Why
say,
else would you charge?
I have to say that I come from a unique background. That my father was a police officer. He was a retired police officer. I have a brother who, served many years in the police department. I don't have any animosity towards the police, right? I don't. However, there are a lot of things, we are very far away from true justice, in this, we have a, very civilized society, this is very, and I just cannot believe the level of injustice that we have, here in the state of California. And and I do have a lot of, I understand where police officers are coming from today, in the sense of they're feeling micromanaged with the implementation of MVARs and the body-worn cameras that were not, 20 years ago didn't exist, right? They got on the stand, they told their side of the events, and, they feel it's intrusive into them doing their job. And I understand it's always easier. They're the ones on the front lines. Things go south all the time. They absolutely do put their lives on the line. And it's always easy to nitpick in retrospect, right? So I understand all of the dynamics at play. However, it is obvious that there are a lot of things that are done within the police department and the DA's office that are done simply to stonewall.
Right.
Yeah.
It's literally exactly the same as football. All right. You have the games that take place with the referees. The referees are the cops, you know what I'm saying, or the department, and they're making calls or not making calls. And everybody that's watching is like, are you kidding me? Look what we saw what happened. That's not the truth. And then as time went forward, they started implementing replay. And then there's video replay, and then there's more cameras, and there's more cameras, and there's more cameras, and it's because the people want they want the actual truth as the result of the flag. And it's like now that's to the point where they're breaking down like every millisecond to see, did he cross a line, did his knee touch, boom, 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 boom. It's because there's truth and there's not truth. Obviously there's always gray area, but it's the same type of thing, and it's just like this transparency at the end of the day. And I don't think the ref gets obviously it's not as extreme, what I'm saying? The refs aren't getting pissed and stuff like that, but they are losing their jobs when they call the wrong play after a while.
I actually love that analogy that you said, because this is the NBA, right? They have, almost an unlimited budget. They have the best cameras. They have all the instant replay. And even then you can be at the Super Bowl and you can have questions on a replay. Right. And I think that's so poignant for what we do as criminal defense attorneys is, yes, things are on video now. Yes, things are, and even then there's debate. Questions of doubt. So true. It's very true.
Do you have any really crazy cases that you've ever been a part of?
I've been a part of a lot of crazy cases.
What was one of the wildest ones?
Gosh, I've got a lot of stories. I'm just trying to think of which ones I can
that are appropriate
to share.
They're all appropriate. This podcast is not monetized, by the way.
Yeah.
Which ones do I want to go on record?
Leave whatever parts out that you need.
The names were changed to protect. The potentially
John
guilty.
and Jill.
Okay, so I have one. So a client came into my office, right, and I had never met him before, and he came in with a ticket for solicitation or prostitution, okay? And at the time, I was working for a firm, and we had a lot of different attorneys, right? So I didn't consult this client. So the first time I was meeting when he was coming in for his in-person appointment. And so I think he was, and this was pretty early on in my career, so I think he was naturally maybe expecting a man or someone older, right? So he was visibly uncomfortable for a meeting, right? Because of the underlying charges, right? And he's sitting there and he's like, listen, you have to believe me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. Like, I'm just so embarrassed. I cannot believe, like, you have to believe, and kept saying, you have to believe that this is my first time. I'm like, you know, I completely believe you, you know, and I'm trying to get certain information that I need, you know, for my case while we're talking. And he kept going back to the, like, you have to believe me. You have to believe me. And so then finally I'm like, he's not going to let up on this. Okay. And I'm like, I believe you. And I'm like, and let me tell you why I believe you. I'm like, flip over this. I'm like, because I'm looking at this, and your opening bid on a solicitation on prostitution, this dollar amount is not the going rate. So I know for a fact you've never done this before, so we can move on.
That's
you
funny.
know, so, you know, and that kind of, you know, after that, it kind of quelled his questioning,
right.
and then we moved on. But that's
funny.
kind of one of, like, the funnier little things. Mhm.
That's funny. Stay off of Figueroa.
Yeah. I was like, that's your opening bid day.
$10,000.
So, so
I mean,
funny.
he was paying, like, Vegas escort prices.
Right? Yeah.
He was willing to.
It's not that serious, bro.
Right.
Give us another one. Come on. Give us another one.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Let's see here.
And then we got to save some for round 2.
Okay. Let's see here. Gosh, I'm trying to think.
I could tell that, like, there's a bunch she wants to say.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
she's like super like, can't say that, don't want to say that.
I'm triaging
Yeah.
for sure. Let's see here.
That one.
Which one?
The one
No,
that's
no,
on
no,
right
no,
now.
no,
Do I want to talk about the beheading? No.
no.
Any
No.
crazy ones like violent ones?
How many people did you get? You got away with murder.
That is such a okay. So I have been involved in several murder cases, and I have not lost a murder case yet.
Boom.
So.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, you know, those are the scariest. Is, you know, especially in the first case, one of the very first cases that I worked with when I first became an attorney with the law firm that I was with in Long Beach. That client, I didn't realize at the time when we took that case how rare, you know, that particular client. I mean, this woman had never had anything more than a speeding ticket, and you know, her stepson, you know, was in a tragic accident, and you know, she found herself on trial for murder, and that, you know, those are the cases that keep you up at night.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one sounds like it could be a movie.
Yeah,
that
right.
one definitely could be a movie.
Yeah.
I have a case right now that definitely I can see the Dateline show winding its way through, but I'm going to reserve talking about that case because it's an active investigation.
Yeah, and once everything's closed out and then everything's public record, we'll talk about it.
For sure. I'm trying to think of kind of some more funnier ones. I don't know. The ones that come into my mind are just me being just me.
How are you just you?
Yeah. So I remember I hosted my sister-in-law's bridal shower, and I had a piñata with like a bunch of like, you know, those little like airport like drink, like little
tiny shots,
and little vodkas and things.
Oh, the little bottles?
Yeah, the like the little bottles, and it was just like a bunch of fun stuff, and like
we got some Fireball little bottles.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so I just had a bunch of like fun random things, but there was like a bunch of mini like alcohol thing, and so she, you know, one of the things we did, she hit the piñata, and then but I had a you know, and then a bunch of my girlfriends, like, you know, grabbed, you know, all the mini bottles, but I had a bunch extra. So I took them all and, like, threw them in my purse. And the shower was on Sunday. And, you know, you're busy with the party and whatever. And then Monday morning I had court. So I just grabbed my purse and like go through court. I could like go through the security. Yes, and I have a bag full of mini bottles of alcohol and all of the favors that you would expect from like a bridal shower, right? And then like the security is like, what in the?
You're like, they're all sealed. They're all sealed.
Oh my gosh! Thank God it was a courthouse that I'm in a lot.
Yeah, so they knew you.
They knew me. I don't know if that was a good or bad.
Like, it was a crazy weekend, George.
Yes. So then I just, did the like walk of shame back to my car, dumped it all out, went back in.
Did they tell you that you couldn't go in with it? Did they tell you can't go in with this?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much,
They're like, Elise, come on, what the
can
fuck
you
please,
like, please put this away? How embarrassing.
So you've been about 4 years in your own practice now. And what do you think some of the hardest challenges that owning a practice, that like being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, a lot of people don't realize it's not just about being a great, amazing attorney. It's about actually now you have to run a business.
Right.
So what have been some of the challenges some people might not think about when thinking about starting their own firm?
Definitely one of the things that you hear this a lot with attorneys, especially because we are, we're trained to handle our clients' cases, right? But then you also work just as hard on the business component of it, right? Setting up your corporation, or if you're going to do an LLC, however you're going to do that, and then doing your profit and loss, like all of the very unsexy things about running a business, right? Your taxes, and making sure that that's okay. And then the state bar just last year implemented the new rules on your trust accounting, so making sure that all your trust accounting is in compliance. For all your client money, you gotta make sure. I mean, I think, I'll be honest, I think all there's always going to be people who are not doing what they're supposed to do, right? But I think most everybody was doing this already, and now we have rules, and where you have to reconcile monthly, and the month comes quick, so you just got to make sure that you're implementing these things in order to make sure that you're in compliance, right? Because you can always the state bar just hired a bunch of attorneys to go through an audit, and financial audits are the easiest things to prove, because it's either you had it in your statement on such and such date matched what it should have been, or you didn't, right? There's kind of no in between. And then now you have to all the trust report accounting, the state bar, you are having to sign under penalty of perjury every year that you are in fact keeping your trust accounts current and active.
I'm pretty sure.
I know. It reminds me of, the filing the taxes, right? Where they're like, state bar, it's that like typical meme where it's like, okay, you have to file taxes, like, right? And then the IRS knows how much you owe, but they're going to keep it a secret. And then
just
if
tell
you
me.
guess wrong, you're going to jail, right? Like, why don't you just tell me what I owe? So the financial stuff is always not fun to deal with.
How about managing? You have a couple of helpers. I'm sure you have to manage them as well. How is managing your team?
Luckily, I am so blessed. My case manager has been with me for years. She was with me when I was at one of my much larger firms. She actually kind of, when I got the job, she kind of came with the job. And so she trained me a lot when I was a newer lawyer. And then I left that firm, went to another firm for a while. And then when I opened up my own law practice, I reached back out to her, and it just worked out that she came on board with me. So she came trained, and she's amazing, and it works out for her that she works remotely, which is fine, because everything I need is on the computer anyway. And then I have another girl who works remotely as well, and you always have to have a level of checks and balances. So I do have to set time aside to kind of audit, you know, and make sure that, you know, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, because ultimately the onus is on me, you know, not on them. You know, so you
What's
just
her
have
role?
to make sure. My other girl, so I have an intake
Specialist?
Intake specialist,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I was like, what would you like to call yourself?
Yeah.
She answers the phones?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have an intake specialist, and then my case manager who does true case managing. So setting up the files, you know, doing monthly payments for clients, discovery requests, DMV, you know, definitely true, like moving files along. And then my intake specialist who does nothing but my incoming calls.
So with your intake specialist, when someone makes a call,
Same thing.
should I not talk about it?
No, I was thinking of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So I do a lot of cold calling.
Okay. Just for fun? Or
More for abuse.
okay.
Just to take it, toughen you up.
So when a solicitor calls the law firm, they have to talk to your intake specialist.
Right.
And so let's say I call them like, hey, you blah, blah, blah. Does my message go through, or is it just like, yeah, okay, another solicitor. Yeah, what's your name, your number? Okay, I'll let her know you called. And then they don't.
How much does she filter? How much does she filter?
How much does she filter?
She's like, a lot.
That's going to depend. I'll be honest, it's probably going to depend on what they know that people that I would want to talk to, right, at any given time, right? So it's going to depend, like, are we, I think it's just, you would have to hit when we are
In need
of a, you know, you guys are obviously content creators and social media managers. When if we already have one.
Marketing specialist.
Yeah, exactly. Marketing specialist. If, you know, we're already contracting with someone, I highly doubt that message is going to get to me. But if we've had kind of team meetings where, you know, she knows that I'm in the market for that, then I would hope that she would pass along the message.
So how often are you letting her know what you need? Like,
we talk. I mean, a good intake specialist, you're going to talk every day. I mean, we're in constant contact because,
really?
you know, leads are coming in, and, you know, she's going to naturally have questions about quoting and, you know, this referral or that referral. So
How many calls do you think you get a day?
it varies widely. I would say less calls because nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore. It's so wild. It's all very, and that was one of the things that I did during COVID is, even though, and I would highly recommend if anybody is looking to hang out a shingle, do it before you're actually, you know, quote unquote, open for business, is automate everything and do everything digitally before you have your first client. You know, do the retainer, you know, even though it takes so much time in the front end to do the digital DocuSign retainers, do the conflict waivers, do the
Create all your paperwork first.
Substitution of attorneys, English, Spanish, you know, or if you have a different language that you're catering to, do all of those, all of your emails that are a little bit more repetitive. Do all that. I did all of that because I'll be honest, it was COVID. I just hung out a shingle and I didn't have any clients. So I kind of like sat in my office and kind of had the time to do it. But now I'm so grateful that it worked out the way that it did, because that has saved me countless hours of energy, you know, in the long run, when I felt like, oh gosh, maybe I should be kind of pounding the pavements more, maybe put some money into marketing and stuff, but I just sat down and kind of built my foundation, which I think that, you know, if you are thinking of moving, or maybe you're working somewhere and then, maybe in a year or two, I would do all that stuff now. There's nothing stopping you from opening, because there's so many nitpicky things that you have to do. Open up your trust account, you know, open up your LLC, go ahead and get a business banking account, go, you know, do all of these things that you have to do, because it takes a long time to build that foundation.
It does.
You're talking about building out your systems and your automations and having that in play, and it's total time consuming, and it irritates you because it's not an income producing activity now, and you're like, I need to be making money right now,
and
but I gotta
quite
get these
the
systems.
opposite. Quite the opposite. It costs you a lot of money.
It does.
You know, those systems aren't free.
Right.
The
It's another
platforms
monthly
are not
subscription.
It's another monthly subscription. And I get it. I pay so much money in monthly subscriptions, but it's so important.
Yeah.
You had to think in the past. I mean, you had to either do it yourself or hire a person to do it in the past before all these, you know, automated subscriptions. So it's like it's
cheaper, I guess.
It's like when cable started phasing out and everybody started getting it, and then it's like, man, I pay for 10 subscription services. I got Paramount, I got Hulu, I got Netflix. It's like, how much was cable again?
Exactly. Now, at first, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be done with that, you know, $400 cable bill.
Right.
I'll never go back to anywhere near that. And then the, you know, 10 or 12 subscriptions, you're probably at that or exceeding it. You know, so it's the way that they've kind of
just shifted the
given
offers,
it to you in bite-sized doses.
Right.
You know, taking your money in bite-sized doses as opposed to, you know, one lump sum.
So what's some type of advice you would give maybe to like an up-and-coming criminal justice attorney who's come out, maybe they want to start their own firm, or maybe they're just coming out of law school? What kind of advice would you give them?
Two things. One is network. You can never go to enough bar association meetings. You can never be, you know, too involved in the legal community. And I would say whatever your specialty, and also another thing is maybe it's always good to know other criminal defense attorneys, because it does take a village. You know, I'm so blessed that I have, you know, a group of attorneys that when I want to go on vacation, or, you know, if there's a case that, you know, I have questions on, I have this amazing community that I know that has my back, and vice versa, right? Like one of my good friends was just in federal court and, you know, had a case that was blowing up, and I covered all of his appearances for him because he's like, you know, this is taking my entire life for this week, and, you know, no questions asked. You just do that because you're only one person, you know? So that's always so important. So definitely you want to have your village, so to speak. But also, forget, the criminal defense attorneys are only going to, like, I'm just going to assume that this person wants to be a criminal defense attorney, right? We're all fishing in the same pond. So make sure to network with people who are not criminal defense attorneys, because at the end of the day, I'm very less likely to give you a case than maybe a family law attorney or a probate attorney, or, you know, definitely go network outside of your area of specialty that you're looking at, because that's where your true referrals are going to come from.
Yeah, what we find is criminal defense attorneys are a little bit more. They're a little bit more like this,
protective
like,
of their niche.
Of their niche. Yeah.
In what way?
The competition for criminal defense attorneys, I would say, is one of the hardest, like one of the more rougher, like lot bigger of competition when it comes to criminal defense attorneys, rather than
like outside of personal injury.
Personal injury is pretty competitive as well.
But it seems like they're sharing a lot. They seem to share a lot, or like they like tag team, or like, because a lot of them, because correct me if I'm wrong, a criminal defense attorney, you guys are able to do, you guys are from the beginning to the end, the whole entire process. You're in the courtroom, you're dealing with every stage. You guys are visiting you're dealing with every stage. But it seems like in personal injury, like some people only handle
you gotta get paid up front,
right? They can only handle this level. Sometimes some are strictly litigators, and they have other attorneys that handle the preliminary aspects of things, and they fit in different parts of the process. So they collaborate more because of that, because some of them aren't litigators, and they just settle.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And there's a lid for every pot, right? Like, you know, the people who are going to naturally want to become criminal defense attorneys is because they want to be in the courtroom, and they like trials, and they like kind of the quote unquote action of it. And then there's people who are true transactional attorneys who like to not have to deal with a courtroom and not have to deal with judges and juries and things like that, and they want to, you know, sit, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, sit at their desk, pump out motions, you know, letters, you know, kind of work up a file. So there's space for everybody. You just have to fit what works for you. I will say with criminal, the competition is tough, you know, as far as, and the barrier to entry is, you know, extremely tight. There's a lot of attorneys here all fighting for the same finite amount of cases, you know, so how do you differentiate yourself, you know?
Right. And it's going to probably be my last question. I don't remember if I asked you this off the podcast or in the beginning, but how come criminal defense attorneys just have so much style?
Well, thank you. You know, it's funny. I will say, just kind of as an anecdote, is when I first started practicing, I was very self-conscious, and I wouldn't wear makeup. I wouldn't, you know, I dressed, you know, very, I would say that what I thought people wanted to see, or, you know, whatever. And then I learned very quickly that I'm either going to resonate with my clients or not, right? The people who are looking for somebody like me and that I resonate with, they're my people, right? If somebody who is looking for, you know, an older white male, they're never going to come sit and talk to me anyway. So why am I even, you know, bothering trying to fit myself in, you know? And I think that where you know, just, you're also hiring, you know, it's always it's a relationship, right? You have to resonate with your client as much as a client has to resonate with you. It's a two-way street, because I need that client's help in gathering documents, or, you know, facilitating their own defense in a certain, you know, extent, or, you know, us even just them feeling comfortable to give me information that I need, open up to me, exactly, that I need to, you know, figure out my defense strategy, right? And it's a long-term relationship. Like, misdemeanor cases, you know, go on for a long time. Felonies go on for years. You know, I mean, I can be on a murder case for several years. This is a long relationship. Yeah. And you know, they have to resonate. Like, we just have to vibe. Yeah, I have no way.
So that's trust. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just trust.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can always tell when somebody is being disingenuous, you know? So it's just like, do your thing, you know? Because people are going to either understand that that's just your thing, and, you know, they're going to want to hire you, you know, or, you know, you're just not for them, and that's okay.
Yeah. And that's why social media is so powerful, because people can see get to see your personality, and they get to learn about you.
And I just made a post about this yesterday. It's like, for one, a lot of attorneys, they don't believe in social media, and they feel like their ego is so big, they feel like they're too good for it, but they don't realize that the ones on social media are now going to start getting the bulk of the clients, because everyone's on social media. And when you don't put yourself out there, that guy goes to prison unjustly. You know, your clients need you. They need to know about you. So if you're not going to put yourself out there so they get to know who you are, you're doing a disservice by not marketing properly. And
true that.
Right.
And I'm just on there to talk shit.
Well, at least you have been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
I was gonna please
shout yourself out. All your socials and your websites and everything.
Oh my gosh. So I'm Elisa Guadan. I am a criminal defense attorney in Orange County and LA County. My website is www.guadanlawgroup.com. You can find me on Instagram at guadanlawgroup.pc and TikTok at guadanlawgroup, and YouTube at guadanlawgroup as well. All right. Thank you guys.
This has been the Louder Lawyer Podcast.
See you next time.